low on the iPad on locals. And well, good morning, and good morning to everybody. And you're probably thinking, why is this lunatic wearing a jacket? It's pretty simple. Cold. I don't know. From since after the convoy when I left Ottawa on March the 12th, as of the March 15th of this year, I've been in warmth the entire time. I was in Miami, which was warm, as you can imagine, and then I was in Medellin in Colombia. So I haven't. I don't know. Maybe I've gotten climatized to the warmth a little bit, so I got to get used to the winter again. So everybody on Instagram, good morning, and thank you for joining the most positive stream, hopefully, of your life, at the very least, of this week, and for sure for today. Thank you for being here. And this is the Freedom Coffee live stream, where we celebrate and acknowledge the freedoms that we have, that we naturally have, our natural rights, and work on expanding our freedoms in the future. And we're going to come together and we're going to continue to do that. And that was the whole spirit of the Freedom Convoy, which lives rent-free in a whole lot of minds of a whole bunch of extremist leftists. And I, for one, couldn't be happier. I think it's amazing. You know, that's the whole thing. When you have a message of those four pillars, what I called it, peace, love, unity, and freedom, they just can't shake it. And I guess they can't shake the fact that they weren't a part of it. And, like I've been telling some people on the more political central, political left, that Woodstock, Canada was at the doorsteps of Parliament Hill, and the government violently cracked down on those people and beat them with absolutely zero right to do so. And what happened to all that human rights stuff that we used to cry about within the Liberal Party, right? It's only for outside of Canada, for certain specific groups of interest. Anyways, but we're going to focus on all the good things and the positive things. Today, for me, was like the best day already. It's like such amazing things have happened. And I'm sure it happens to you guys too if you just acknowledge them. And I just woke up to a couple of amazing emails that were changed my day for sure. And hopefully we can have the same effect for all of you guys and make your lives even better and help deal with kind of the stresses of life, not let things get to us and all that sort of stuff, all that sort of things. And we'll go through the hilarity that is ensuing on leftist Twitter and in the fake news media and all that sort of stuff. And you know what? That's the position of strength. The position of strength is not necessarily going out and fighting. Sometimes the position of strength is sitting back, watching by, and watching people dig their own graves, dig their own political graves or their own reputational graves, which is what I discussed yesterday. So that's really the path forward. Okay, so a couple things. Should have the book launch date by the end of the week, I hope. And I will let all of you know. So if you're not following on Locals, it's honkingforfreedom.locals.com. That's this stream here. And we're going to triage people who want to attend, who want to get tickets to attend the book launch, which is going to be just a total party and lots of fun. There's going to be a little streaming and podcasting and talks and a couple speeches and stuff from people other than just myself, because I like being the least important person in the room, and I like being the least intelligent important person in the room. I like to be surrounded by intelligent people, and I think that's what you're going to see at the book launch. So join honkingforfreedom.locals.com or BJdichter.substack.com, and that will be the way in which you'll be able to get tickets to the live event. And I've already been getting people from the media reach out to me. And I should ask that. So I'm of two minds of this. I'm getting requests because word's starting to circulate around that I have a book coming out and about the convoy and the whole experience. And I'm starting to get requests from legacy media, or as I call them, fake news media. Not all of them, only 98% of them. But my question is this. Should I actually do one, and only one, legacy media interview leading up to the book launch or around the book launch? And if so, who? Like, who in legacy media would you trust? Now, I'm not talking about Mark Petroni on AM 960. I go on his radio program regularly. Or Richard Serrett as well, who's on that same station. There's a few people. Joe Warmington is another highly credible journalist, in my opinion, in Canada. But Joe's not like a live stream. He's, a print journalist, right? So I don't know. Maybe I should put up on a poll on Twitter and say, should I even engage fake news media? And if I do engage fake news media, who should I engage with? I don't know. Your suggestions. Okay, I'm going to have to... I'm going to have to replace them. I'm having a problem. 1 second. Remember, I promised you you would never have any serious sense of professionalism here. Sorry, everybody on locals. I got to disconnect the mic because for some reason the iPad didn't charge last night, and the reason is I didn't plug it in. Maybe that happens. Beth, why do you want to torture yourself with such negativity by doing a legacy media interview? And that's the thing. I don't trust. But is there somebody? There's got to be somebody. Hey, Ryan, is there somebody in legacy media that is worth the time to invest in? I don't know. I'm of two minds ahead. I still want to continue with the strategy that I've been using all throughout the convoy, which is just to ignore them and focus on, just to focus on alternative media streams and direct to people. But I don't know, just a suggestion. I'll put it out on a poll. A whole bunch of people here. Good morning. Wow, Callum, Ryan, David, Lisa. Thank you, everybody. Claudette, thank you, everybody, for being here. Oh, and Robin O has a very large good morning. Robin's hysterical. Anyways, so a couple of things I want to get to before I run out of here and get in the truck and head down to New York. And Gord, if you happen to be watching this either now or in the future, Gord is, by the way, he's a trucker in the U.S. He's Canadian, and but he lives in the U.S. now. And he had been communicating with me during the Freedom Convoy. Really good guy, and did an op-ed for Newsweek, and is now, I guess he's penning stuff on Substack and all that sort of stuff. And Gord wants to get together. So, Gord, I think I'll be able to meet you in Bimington on my way back after my back haul. Maybe tomorrow. It just depends on depends on the window when the delivery is set. Whoever picks it up in Canada when I drop it off at the yard. So I will let you know, and I'll send you a message over Telegram later on today. I'm going to be in the truck and on the phone for a few hours. I have so much going on. David, I don't trust left-wing media, aka left-wing corrupt media. Are you on Rumble? Yes. So if you go to Rumble and you search Honking for Freedom, that's the Rumble channel, which is linked to the locals account there. It's not live streamed in Rumble. I couldn't figure out the RMTP settings, and it was a mess, and I have so many other things I got to deal with right now. But all of these streams are uploaded to Rumble, and I am there. So, okay. A couple of things. First, this is okay. So, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about empowered women. Now, I love empowered women. I love strong women. Whether women decide they want to have a career or not, I support everybody. But I've always had respect for women who are assertive and who are good managers, who are good people who can administer a company, entrepreneurs. I think it's amazing. That is not something that is a skill set that's unique to either gender, right? And I grew up with a mother who's quite assertive, and she's really the one who taught me a lot of the strength, how the legal system works, how to defend yourself, all that sort of stuff, right? By the way, I hope you all have your coffee. Anyways, so for me, this whole idea of women, should we empower them or not? Like, I don't know. I just grew up from a young age that just men and women are, I don't want to say equals. We're equal but different, right? We have different characteristics, different strengths. Women have different strengths over men and vice versa. And I remember watching that whole documentary series and read one of the books. I think it was The Naked Ape was the book I read by Desmond Morris, where he dissects humans does an analysis of humans from a psychological and zoological perspective, and comes to the conclusion that men and women are equal, but we're different, right? We're not perfectly. We have different strengths, and that's why that's an evolutionary trait that makes us compatible and makes us good teams to work together. And I think that's something we should celebrate. So we have something to celebrate, and that is a strong woman has become the Prime Minister of Italy. Yay! Right? We all should be celebrating and reveling in this momentous achievement that this woman, not because she's a woman, because wow, that woman takes no prisoners, no bullshit with her. You have to respect that amount of strength that we don't see in any politicians in Canada, by the way. Like, we don't have that sort of stuff here, right? So anyways, her name is Giorgia Meloni, and she's very fiery. She's very, and I don't mean that in any pejorative. I'd say that in admiration. She's very fiery. She's a little bit sassy, which is great. She's been in politics for quite a while. She's part of Berlusconi's government in some capacity. So she understands the game of politics. She probably understands people are garbage. Well, people can be garbage in politics. But all of a sudden, I don't understand. So, like, for example, we have, Prime Minister Blackface, Mr. Gender Parity, and we have an Italian Prime Minister who's a woman and an accomplished woman, and all of a sudden, the left's not celebrating anymore. All of a sudden, they're attacking her. It's funny, if she's a leftist, like that moron in New Zealand, everybody, on the political left, we have to bow down. See, women leadership, this is what we need, blah, blah, blah. But now they have somebody who has political worldviews that are completely different from theirs. All of a sudden, she's a fascist. The fact that she's a woman is no longer relevant, right? Now she's a fascist, she's a racist, she's a this, and it's the basket of smears that we all experience, that I experienced from Prime Minister Blackface, that she's, Sonia, she's far right. I don't know, what does that mean? Far objective? Like, okay, she's a far objectivist. She believes in truth and she's not a subjectivist. Okay, is that what far right is? Great. Okay, I'm on board if that's what that is. So it's just amazing how quickly and easily they will abandon the very principles that they use to whack all of us over the head with when it doesn't benefit them. And then they turn on this woman and they become, if you've noticed, they become quite vicious towards her. And more vicious, I would argue, than they would be towards most men. I mean, maybe Trump is the exception because they're quite vicious towards him. But they're attacking her with the same degree of viciousness. It's like the Salem witch trials, right? That's what they're going to do to any woman who gets into power but doesn't espouse exactly their views. You're going to be the enemy worse than anybody else. That's how you know this whole ideological framework from the far left is complete nonsense. Because the minute it doesn't work in their favor in terms of their political narrative, they abandon it immediately, which is why we need to ignore it. We need to ignore anybody who's just, I laugh. I laugh their heads. But, racist, bigot, homophobe, whatever phobe, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the sign that you're dealing with a child who has no argument. And that's exactly what happens. But it's really concerning that you see that. So we see this on the international stage, that they're willing to go after and smear this woman. And it's funny, you also see this with Antifa. If you look at the Antifa videos, and that, for those who don't know, that's the far left militia that has been expanding all over the globe, and no left-wing politician will acknowledge it and protect us against it. You know, the people who burned Portland and anyways, the Chaz, that's all Antifa. They're communists, right? Which is what our education system has done to our children. So, but if you look at the videos of Antifa, it's very interesting because you know what you'll see? You'll see that hierarchical structure play out with them. Who are the ones who are, like the guys, there's some videos of guys who actually have weapons and guns, you know, because we don't like guns unless we're on the far left, then it's okay. There are videos that have emerged of Antifa, you know, putting together, organizing guns and ordnance and all that sort of stuff. And what's happening? The guys are doing the organizing, and they're the ones that are arming themselves. Yet, what do they have the women doing? They have the women loading the bullets in the magazines. They're adopting what I would call this misogynistic hierarchical structure. That's what they would call it. I wouldn't call it that. And that's how they run their organizations. So they're all completely full of crap, all of them. And that's why they need to be ignored, no matter how much lobby money that they get or what lobby firms or NGOs they're connected to. They need to be ignored, which is something else I have a strategy for over the next year or so that I'm working with some people on. So that's one. But it's just really disturbing that the people who cry about, well, we need gender parity, we need women, and when women become strong leaders, all of a sudden those women are attacked just like you and I are, right? We just become second-class citizens in the eyes of the... I'd hate calling them communists because they're not communists. They're worse. They're worse than communists. It's like if communists and the KKK merged together, that's the radical left today. And that's, by the way, Justin Trudeau's underlying philosophy, which is why he's hated so much. So that's on the international scale. Now we have on the more local and regional scale. So this article came to me by Donald Best, I think is the name is his website, independent journalist, sent me a thing over Twitter, and it's regarding Constable Christina Nielsen, who was charged by the little Hitler who's run, well, he didn't charge it, but he pushed it forward, who's running the Ottawa police, that short, bald little fuck, that she's being charged for donating $50 to the Freedom Convoy. $50 she's being charged. It's amazing. It's astounding how politicized certain levels of police are, and anybody who's a cop is watching this and nodding their head and knowing that chiefs and deputy chiefs have just become politicians at this point and are not to be trusted. And the vast majority of cops who are on the ground on the beat absolutely despise them and wish they were terminated, fired immediately. And we're seeing that happen, that play out in Ottawa, where this is a political persecution of an officer who's going through her second disciplinary hearing over a $50 donation to the most peaceful protest and largest peaceful protest in Canadian history. And we also saw another officer go through the same thing, Constable Aaron Howard, who did a video supporting the truckers when we were in Ottawa, and it was amazing. That video was amazing. And she, of course, was also disciplined by the police for, I don't know, being a strong woman. So now we have 2 women officers, which is what our politicians and politicized police forces want. There's a preference for women officers. They come on board, and these women officers supported a peaceful movement because they knew exactly what it was and the truth and the reality. And what happens? These misogynistic, should I use that word? I don't know. These pigs on the left do everything they can to destroy them and destroy their reputations. $50 for 2 disciplinary hearings. What do you think it costs the government to run these disciplinary hearings to politically prosecute these officers. What do you think it costs? I bet it should cost more than $50. So according to Donald Best, and he's got a link to the hearing that's going to be held tomorrow at 9:30 a.m., so I encourage anybody who is available to go watch it. And if you can, scream and shout in the context box like some of you are right now. I'll get to your comments in a second. So he explains in the article, he says, suspended Ottawa Constable Christina Nielsen will make her second appearance before an internal hearing on her donation. Nielsen was charged with $50 donation to GoFundMe, or say Give, Send, Go. Discreditable conduct. Fucking clown world. So this is, once again, not only do we have women taking on assertive roles, which we should respect them for that, those who want to do it, in the Prime Minister of Italy, and all the way down to these officers in the Ottawa police force. And they all get targeted if they don't have the right far leftist opinion. And I just hope that most women are going to take the advice of Jordan Peterson. If you ever saw, he did that interview with Kathy Newman on Channel 4 in England. And he explained that one of the traits, there's differences with men and women, not the individual level, like we're all different individually, but if you had to chart the groups, there's going to be certain common characteristics that are more identified with men versus women, and vice versa. And one of the things he says is women tend to be more agreeable. And the women who are assertive and who, like this woman, Giorgia Meloni, who took over the prime minister of Italy, I guarantee you she is not agreeable at all, right? And I love it. And I think we need to encourage women to be strong like that and to push back. And when you see these radical leftists try to throw them under the bus and attack them, that we need to encourage them to push back, and that their individual opinions belong to them. They don't belong to a political collective that's going to dictate what they think. And as a side note, if you haven't done this, I recommend doing. Jordan Peterson has this psychological test online. It's like $10. It's a psychological evaluation called Understanding Yourself. I think it's understandingyourself.com. And it's interesting. You go through a long list of questions, and it kind of gives you, how accurate is it? There's some accuracy, some not, but it kind of gives you an estimation. I'm amongst the 95% least agreeable people in the world, which is probably no shock or no surprise to anybody in the Conservative Party or in government. And guess what? I'm not changing. So anyways, let's encourage women to fight back and to not be agreeable and to not take this bullshit from people who tell them what their political opinions should be. And I think as many people as possible should join this hearing tomorrow, where this constable is being politically targeted by the Ottawa police and the political class. And so donaldbest.ca, I think, is his website. I didn't put in the notes, I forgot. But I think just search Donald Best, and he's also on Twitter. Give him a follow. And let's not allow, as strong men, by the way, we cannot allow strong women to be targeted in this way. We need to stand up for them as well, as much as we want them to stand up for us. So, anyways, again, that's the whole, a fundamental underpinning of the Freedom Convoy is unity, and part of unity is support for one another. The other thing, just a question, as comments are rolling by here. Somebody mentioned to me yesterday, who was making fun of me, should I be reading comments during the stream, or should I wait till the end? Because I did the something that I hope all of you have a chance to watch on my channel. It's called How the Media Lies to You, where we did a watch party, and a few of us got together and watched the Punchy McGregor, the CTV smear merchant, his fake documentary about the Freedom Convoy. and I dissected, minute by minute, kind of second by second, all the tactics that they were using to lie to their audience, intentionally to lie to their audience. So for those of you who are watching on honkingforfreedom.com, the link to that is either on my Twitter, BJdichter, at BJdichter, or if you go to BJD Online, which is my YouTube channel, it's, I think, the third video in or fourth video in. It's 2 hours long. I think it was good. I think people enjoyed it. And if they did, we're going to continue doing something similar. But one of the criticisms I got, because it was the first time I did it, was I was reading too many comments during the viewing while I was dissecting what was going on. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. Should I wait for comments till the end, or should I wait till read comments in the middle? Because a whole bunch of, and I don't want to miss people's comments, especially the good ones, which is why I tend to interrupt and interject. But I guess I'll stop doing that for a little bit. And a whole bunch of you, okay, there's so many comments coming up. All right. She's totally okay, we'll get to that in a second. Hold on. She's totally WF compromised, sent support to the Ukraine mess. Who's that? Who are you talking to? You're not talking to the one in Italy? Come on. Ukraine is one of the world's largest money laundering operation for politicians globally. That's what Ukraine is. None of them give a shit about Ukraine. Okay, anyways, so I'm going to, the last thing I wanted to talk about. So firstly, let me know if you think I should interrupt or not. Today, I'm not, but, here we go. Comments are good for audience. I suggest maybe consider time at the end, and moderators could highlight salient comments. Yeah, but the problem is, I just want this to be kind of us hanging out and for us to share ideas back and forth. If I get a moderator and I get, like a producer who sets it up, and I think it loses something. Like, I don't want this to be too polished. I want this just to be us hanging out and talking and sharing ideas. So, Sonia, do as you wish. No, I know, but I'm looking for your advice, right? Like, I'm of two minds about this. Of most things, I can see, multiple sides on an issue. So I can go either way. Robin, I think you can read comments during the screen, just not read comments every 15 seconds with a laugh emoji. Yes, I know. But it was, I don't know. So if you're on Honking for Freedom, or if you didn't watch the Freedom Convoy live stream, it's 2 hours long, 2 hour long dissection of a 20-minute bullshit propaganda video put out by CTV, Punchy McGregor, and the Radical Leftists. I don't know. I thought it was funny. I had fun doing it, and I think everybody who was there enjoyed it. Is Facebook fooling around with this feed? You keep cutting in and out. Maybe, I don't know. Facebook is kind of secondary. I'm doing this with the guys at the National Telegraph as we've gotten to know each other, and we may be working more closely with each other moving forward. We're still trying to work out some of the details. And so Facebook is not really my platform. And that might have been part of the issue during the convoy, that I stuck to Twitter and Getter and alternative media and YouTube and that sort of stuff. I really wasn't on Facebook, and I was deleted on Facebook. You want to know why I was deleted from Facebook? I was deleted on Facebook a couple of years ago. The reason I was deleted from Facebook was a guy who used to be the leader of the Conservative Party. His name is Eunuch O'Toole. Okay, now, what did Eunuch O'Toole do? You have to understand the frame that all political parties behave like cults, especially on the upper level, right? The lower level members, not quite so much, but the higher level and all the kiss asses, they all behave like cults. So when Eunuch O'Toole was running for leadership, I was quite vocal in my opposition to him. And dare I say, I was quite persuasive because I didn't, just use the milquetoast BS comments that politicians use of, he's not a real leader. Those of you who know me by now, I'll give a specific example when I can. And I gave specific examples why he's a liar and when he lied and what he did and I was posting those on his feed. So what did he do? What did Eunuch O'Toole and his team of conservatives do? They started brigading my account. So if you don't know what brigading is when you mass report somebody. It's what the radical left does, right? That's why you see all people get censored. It's because it triggers the bots and it censors somebody off of a platform. Well, Eunuch O'Toole's people did the same thing because they didn't like the fact that I was calling out specifically certain relationships that he has that are very, very dangerous for the Conservative Party, certain views that he has, certain things that he ignored and was aware of and was directly lying to people. And so they just did a mass brigade of my Facebook account and got rid of me. And to be entirely honest, Facebook deleted my thing. And to be entirely honest, there was so much censorship going on with Facebook at that time. I was using it, at that point, just for one purpose, just to annoy Eunuch O'Toole, because I really was done with Facebook and was moving on to other platforms at that point. So I didn't really care either way. And when it was deleted, it's like, okay, fine. There's another thing I don't have to log into, so it didn't really bother me all that much. But now, during the Freedom Convoy, so many people are using Facebook. And I'm like, they're using Facebook and TikTok. And I'm like, hey, guys, our whole argument here for the Freedom Convoy is surveillance and data tracking, right? With the ArriveCam. Maybe we shouldn't be using TikTok, right? That was just my perspective. But, people have friends and families, and they get into... it just becomes habitual, and I understand it's very difficult to switch from one platform to another. That's why I spread myself on all sorts of platforms, and I'm not married to one over the other. Matty, what's up, brother? Good morning to you too. Okay, a couple locals comments, and then just get on to the last thing, and some comments that were sent in, and I will call it a day and go out into the rain and get my ass down to New York. Okay, so according to the left, strong women are the enemy. Women are supposed to be servants, inferior beings that they are. Well, that seems to be the case, right? That's exactly how they behave. They want to use women as political props, like Trudeau did. Oh, we're 50% because it's the current year. Not like we're 50% women because 50% are just as qualified as the rest of us. No, we can't have that. And beware, Mama Bear. No, reading the comments means you get them in context. That's exactly what I'm thinking, 100%. Okay, so I'm going to have to find this balance of reading comments during the stream, Robino, but not do it every 10 seconds. I get that. I understand. I'd feel more like dialogue or conversation if you stop reading them. You know what, Beth? You understand exactly what I'm trying to do here. This is what I want it to be. I want it to be kind of a conversation where we can share ideas and maybe fix some problems together. Like you may offer up some suggestions and things I didn't think of, exactly like what you just did. So thank you, Beth. Beth is, by the way, on Locals, and will be one of the people who's going to be getting a link to join the launch party. And if you want to join Honking for Freedom, there is a free code that some people get to work, some people don't. It's the word free, all capital letters, and the number 6. Try it in Locals. That should be able to let you in. And hopefully that works. Panama Wayne, good morning. Panama, or Panama City, Florida? I don't know. Panama is a beautiful place, by the way. If any of you have not been to Panama, I suggest checking it out. It's one of those Latin American countries where it's not like Colombia. In Colombia, the cities are equally nice to the countryside, and Colombia is very like country western, right? It's like Texas or like Mexico, but Panama is more, I guess, like Costa Rica is a good way to describe it, where the city's a little bit, San Juan's a little bit, not Panama, San Juan. Panama City's a little bit, I was disappointed in what it was, but when you go out to the countryside, it's absolutely beautiful. I had a buddy retired to Panama. Yeah, there's tons of people that are retiring there. There's lots of, there's tons of people retiring all through Latin America. Like when I was not this time I was in Colombia, the time I was there before. I've been, I don't know how many times at this point. There's so many what they call extranjeros, which are people from, people like us from the Western world who've moved down there because the cost of living is so cheap. So they've retired and they've decided, well, they're going to just maximize their wealth and they're going to live in Latin America because they went there and they realized, oh, hey, all that nonsense I see on the fake news about how dangerous it is. Yeah, that's all fake news. Like everything they said about the Freedom Convoy. You think if you're living in a city like, I don't know, what's the population of Buenos Aires? What's it, 30 million? Close to 30 million? Well, there's 30 million people not getting killed every day. Well, how does that happen? It's because it's a city like every other city in the world, and there are dangerous parts and there are safe parts. And that's the best way to describe Latin America. And if nobody here has been to Latin America, I got to tell you, for me, it changed my life. I absolutely love it, and I highly, highly recommend it. And it's very cost-effective for those of us in the West. Okay, so David, Italian PM Maloney made an epic speech. She's done a whole bunch of them, actually. And if you go onto Twitter, she's becoming a sensation because the radical left wants to destroy her reputation because she's a strong woman. They only like, I don't know, weak women is what the radical left likes, I guess. But she's amazing, and it's absolutely wonderful to see. I think the tide is turning, and somebody said, put some comment attacking me somewhere about the Freedom Convoy changed everything. It didn't change everything, but it changed a lot, and it was that MEP. Christina Anderson, she said during the convoy, she gave a speech and she said, thank you to the Canadian truckers, because we politicians, political leaders also need hope. And we need to see that there's people willing to stand up and show strength. Because at the end of the day, we know politicians really follow, that's where they're always focus grouping. They're trying to follow where people want them to be. That's a part of their job. And when they saw the Freedom Convoy rise up and all those truckers, all of us go out there and push back against the government, you know what? It made politicians realize that I'm not alone, that if I speak up like this Prime Minister of Italy is now doing, then I'm going to have a whole lot of support from the working and middle class. So did the trucker convoy change everything? No, but I think it was not everything, but I think it was a major shift, not just in Canada, but in the world, that now people are not afraid to talk about issues and be more forthwith with their concerns, that are going on politically all over the world. Okay. David, I don't trust legacy media, aka left-wing media. Okay, on Rumble, I said that already. Ryan C7, I would pay good money to see BJ and Gilmore sit down. Oh, that's the smear merchant from Global News, that woman, that young girl. Yeah, she's. I would do that. I would sit down and debate with her as long as they don't have editing privileges. I mean, that's the problem. The problem is I'll sit down with somebody like that, and they'll do, to me, exactly what they did during the Punchy McGregor video, which is why I wanted to dissect it so people could see how they shift the tone frequently, and that tone becomes the narrative. And it's a subconscious play is what they're doing, right? But yeah, Rachel, that's very funny. I'm going to think about that. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it, brother. Hold on, I'm getting so many messages. Okay, the left, David Left are the masters of projection and revisionist history. I mean, they're not the masters, but that's what they do, right? Fascists deny freedom of speech and assembly. Agreed. Freedom of religion, and use violence and intimidation to silence the opposition. Agreed. For furthermore reading, see Liberal Fascism, The Secret History of the American Left from Mussolini to the Politics of Change by Jonah Goldberg. Okay, I'm going to put that on my reading list. People ask me, what do you do in the truck when you're driving so long? I listen to audiobooks. So I'm going to put that on my audiobook list. That's how I get through. Nowadays, that's how I get through so many different books, and I tend to pick up books better when I listen to them, to be entirely honest. Sonia, I didn't notice. You say Turdo, I'll say blackface. I didn't notice blackface congratulate Georgia. Yeah, there's a reason for that, because he's a racist, misogynistic prick, And he's not going to compliment her because she doesn't have the right political opinions, because she doesn't embrace any degree of Marxism. She's the exact opposite. She's a nationalist. She wants Italy to maintain its culture. And you know what? Like, I have a question for the radical leftists, the racists, obsessed with identity and stuff, and this whole nationalism thing. The first thing is they'll say, "Oh, nationalism gave us the Nazi Party," and aside from the fallaciousness of that comment, it's so obnoxious to hear. One of the guys who I got to know over the years, he's a YouTuber as well. He's got a channel called Apostate Prophet, and he was explaining in a conversation one time. It was a conversation, a debate. I can't remember. It was a few years ago, and he brought up the very interesting point. He said, nationalism is important. It is important to have national identity. Why? He said, take my country, for example, Turkey. Turkey was, until Erdogan, who is an extremist, but hopefully his time will come to a close soon. Turkey is the one country, the one Middle Eastern country, that did not adopt religion over their national identity. Why? Because they were taught, Ataman Turks was very adamant about this, that we are Turkish first. It's our Turkish identity that comes first. And in the case of Turkey, that protected his culture from going down the path of what Saudi Arabia was. And Saudi Arabia, even them, they're trying to climb out of this pit now. So it's nationalism that protected that. And that sort of identity it's important. It's the reason, like when I go to South America, like let's do this exercise for Mr. Blackface. A Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. Remember that bullshit, right? I believe you got to earn your dues, right? So when I moved to Colombia, if I got a passport right away, would I be Colombian? Do I look Colombian? ¿Es mi acento de los colombianos? No. Any Colombian who just heard that would laugh that I sound like a gringo when I speak Spanish. Because I'm not Colombian. I will never be Colombian because Colombian culture is completely different than the culture I grew up in, irrespective of whatever passport or document the bureaucracy of an aforesaid country gives me. I'm forever going to be Canadian because I was born in Canada and I was raised in Canada. That's just my identity. It's the language that I speak. It's the accent that I have. It's the worldview that I have. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with we all having our different cultural experiences and seeing as a positivity, right? And it's just so insulting when, it's the whole hyphenation of people when they come to Canada and, Canadians. No, if somebody comes here from Colombia and they want to migrate to Canada, they're always going to say they're Colombian because that's how they grew up. That's why you see so many cars, especially in Toronto, where they have their national flag of their heritage. It's their heritage and their identity. And the radical left wants to steal that from them and have them just be part of the bureaucracy. Whatever the bureaucratic paperwork says they are, that's their identity. And that's not fair to people. You can't do that. You allow people to abide by whatever identity that they want. Anyways, just sorry for the little ramble and tirade. I find it so obnoxious. Anyways, they're such airheads. They think that the world began in 1974. All right, Paul Dixon. I didn't cost the government anything. Taxpayers pay for it. Yeah, that's right. Anything the government does, it's all free. It's free. Nobody pays for it. Bunch of schmucks. 100%. Okay, somebody's got like 5 different comments. So let me self-inquiry. I recommend, this is called self-inquiry equals. There are other avenues to this. I recommend John directly. Again, here's the problem. So the context of that is removed because I didn't read that comment when it was fresh. So, Sonia, proving your point. You're exactly right. Scrolling, she's totally right. Okay, Robin, I'm just catching up with you guys here. Good morning. Ryan. I like comments it feels more familiar. Okay, great. Let me see this. I didn't like Aaron, that's referring to the other officer, because, no. Oh, Aaron O'Toole. He was all show, a lawyer for a couple of years, barely forces him. I'd rather less CV. Okay, so, yeah, he's referring to Aaron O'Toole, who's former leader of the Conservative Party. You know what's interesting is he was, I believe, a navigator, and he was seeking navigator for 9 years and never got a promotion. From what I understand from people in the military, that's a red flag. If you're not getting a promotion in the Canadian military, and you're at such a low role, like he was a search and rescue guy. It's not like he was storming the beaches of Normandy. And if you ever meet him, like when you look him directly, the first time I saw him directly when we spoke, you look in his eyes, he's a psychopath. He's one of those people who just looks through you. You can tell. His eyes just get all glazed over. He doesn't want to listen to anybody. He's just trying to read you. That's Unico O'Toole. That was the second time actually I met him. The first time I met him was in his office when he was. I've never seen somebody foaming at their mouths, but he was foaming at the mouth that Andrew Scheer won the leadership of the Conservative Party. And I remember walking out. I was with somebody in that meeting, and I don't know if I think I said it to him, but I was definitely thinking, and I thought, this guy's crazy. This guy is a little nuts. So, anyways, and that proved to be true because he was given a whole bunch of intelligence information from some people, and he completely ignored it. Okay, Buddy and Pants. So, all right, now I'm catching up, Claudette. Claudette, be a dream to go to the book launch. Where are you located, Claudette? Are you in Toronto? Because if you're in Toronto, then I can maybe make some things happen for you. BJ, just have one of your folks at the interview. All right. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Have one of your folks at the interview taping the whole thing. If they change it. Okay. Well, the problem is then you get into it's not a public relations war, but it's basically a click war. So if I go and I do an interview with Rachel Gilmore and I record it and she records it, she edits it and puts out, the fake smear of how I'm, the devil himself. Well, no, she wouldn't believe in that sort of stuff. But I'm the anti-communist, and she'll paint that as negative. And I have to show the real interview. Well, now we have a runoff of who can get more clicks, and like I don't want to engage in that sort of pettiness. I mean, that's how bad our fake news media has become. Like, I just can't trust that what we do and what we're going to talk about is going to be aired in any way that it's even remotely truth. Which, again, if you didn't watch our drinking party from Saturday night, how the media lies to you, that was all about Punchy McGregor's Freedom Convoy fake documentary where he smeared all of us and each and every one of you, by the way, all of us. Al, I was discussing, I'll put it on the screen. I was discussing recommendation to look at Jordan Peterson's self-inquiry. Gabermaid has a version called Compassionate Inquiry. Carl Jung calls it, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff about it. It's basically, it reminds me of something I learned when I was pretty young, which is observing ego, which is the ability to kind of assess your response and behavior around certain issues or things that you're involved in, and step back and try to objectively look at, okay, how you behaving, was it rational? Did you get angry? Why did you get angry? What was, the emotional trigger that got you to get upset or happy about something, right? And I think it's kind of in that same sort of headspace, but whatever. Carolyn, even though this is very interesting, it keeps glitching. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's... I'm using Ecamm as the encoder that I'm using, but I'm streaming on multiple streams. I don't know if that's it. I don't know if it's Facebook, but I will do my best to improve it moving forward. I apologize, and it is what it is. Claudette, you're in Alberta. Well, I'll tell you what, Claudette, you're in Alberta, Pam's in Alberta, a bunch of people are in Alberta. If you can get enough people together and enough interest for me to come and do a book launch in Alberta and give a speech with some other people who I know in Alberta that would be quite popular. I would get my team that is right now forming and building this event. I would get that team to do something in Alberta. I would love to do it in Alberta. I'd love to do where? I don't know. How about Banff? I mean, Banff is one of the most beautiful places in the world, right? Banff, even Red Deer. I don't know. But yeah, if you're interested, if you can find some other people, I have a team here that could work with some people on the ground and put together an event in Alberta for the book launch. And so we all could, do this face-to-face and live and talk and spend a night. And I like doing them in bars or restaurants where we can have food and drink and just hang out and make a night out of it, which is exactly what our event is going to be. I want to make it like the same vibe as the Freedom Convoy, which was a dance party, right? Like everybody was having a great time, and we won't have the hot tub in the bar. But other than that, it's that's the vibe that I want to go to, that I want to go for the party, and that's what we'll do. We'll make sure everybody has lots of fun, I promise. On locals, meal for a dog conversation. We complain. Yeah, okay. I agree, Beth. Thank you very much. That's basically what I was suggesting already before. And thank you for being there, Beth. I love you, and I love all your comments that you sent to me on Instagram, everywhere. Like, you guys are all you're all amazing, and thank you for all your love and support all through the convoy and after. And after has been arguably more of a cluster F, if you know what I mean, than during the convoy. But that will all come out in time. Okay, a couple of comments that were sent in we'll get through, and then we'll go on our days, and we're all going to have an amazing day and be as nice and kind to as many people as possible. Please make that a staple of who you are. It's just going to make you feel so much better. It's going to make your day so much better. All right, Tao sends in. Oh, I mentioned in the last stream that we could also use concealed carry laws in Canada, just as a little side note. So Tao responds, and I said this to him, I responded saying, thank you for your opinion. I completely disagree, but I'm glad you shared it, because this is what we need to do. We need to interact and communicate with people who have differences of opinion but still respect each other and understand that, okay, we're probably not going to agree on this. Maybe there's some middle ground at some point, but we're not politicians, so it's not up to us, right? He says, no concealed carry laws would be a bad thing. Lots of people look at the U.S. for statistics, but it fails to see what issues cropped up with the proliferation of firearms there. Thousands upon thousands of firearms are lost or stolen every year and end up in the hands of criminals. Because there are so many guns, here we don't get it. Gang violence in Canada has shootings, but often street thugs are carrying around bear spray and something a lot less lethal than a gun. While we can have many stories of law-abiding gun owners using them in self-defense in Canada, a proliferation of guns will cause lots more problems that can stay in the U.S., quite frankly. Okay, so as somebody who's lived in both the U.S. and in Canada and abroad, overseas in the third world, I wholeheartedly disagree. I understand where you're coming from. I understand the argument you're proposing. It's a whole big topic we can get into, and I don't want this to make this the gun channel. So we'll just talk about it very quickly. Firstly, we see a lot of, if you've ever read the book Lying by Statistics, you see a lot of that in the anti-gun lobby. One, that pops out is the tens of thousands of guns deaths a year. Something like 83% of them are suicide. So those people would have been popping pills if they weren't using a gun. Okay, well, the problem is mental illness and depression. That's really the problem, right? And I also noticed, I remember, I have lots of stories. Remember when I was younger, I was driving from, and you may think this is a good thing or a bad thing, and I'm of two heads of it. It's both a good thing and also a bad thing. I was driving back from Miami to Toronto. I think it was 19 years old. I was at the age where, all of my friends were into cars. Everybody was modifying our cars. We're going to the racetrack, the drag strip, and all that sort of stuff. And I have one friend who was a little bit of an idiot and who dumped every penny he could into this S-box of a car. And we went to Florida, and what did he do? He blew the turbo, because the turbo is bigger than the engine of the car. Like, it was ridiculous. Basic engineering would understand this is not going to end well. But this guy, all he did was knew how to spend his parents' money. So, anyways, we're in Florida. He blows the turbo. So me and my other friend went to the beach and hung out and partied and went night clubbing and whatever. And this friend was just obsessing over his car every day, going to the shop, trying to get parts for it. Because I told him, I'm getting back home to Toronto, and I'm getting back home in your car. I don't care how you're doing it. You're doing it. And that was it. So he got it fixed, and then 3 hours after leaving Miami, or 4 hours left leaving Miami, he blew a turbo seal. I think it was the turbo seal, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was. And all of a sudden, the car now, as soon as you take your foot off the gas, a huge puff of blue smoke, like a smog screen, nobody could see, would come out of the back exhaust, right? So and every hour we'd have to pull over and put a liter of oil into this S-box of a car. Fine. But I had to get back. I had to get back for work and all the sorts of stuff. So we're driving back, and it took us something like 32 hours, 33 hours to get back from Miami, because we had to stop every hour to put another quart of oil or liter of oil in the car. And it was funny. Driving through the entire U.S., not one person said a word to us. I mean, we did our best to try to keep our foot on the gas, would come out and whatever, right? Like when I was driving, when he was driving, whatever. But occasionally you just couldn't help it. You're going through a city center, you have to slow down, anyways. The entire drive across the U.S., not one word, until we crossed the border. Every Canadian car either gave us the finger or snarled at us, or even rolled down their windows and yelled at us, "Get off the road." Now, why is that? I think there's a bunch of reasons, but I think one of the reasons is, and I noticed with my friends in Miami are very much like this. In Canada, because it's so safe, we think, firstly, we think we know everything. And we think, especially those of us in Toronto, so, the people in Alberta who complain about people in Ontario think they're the center of the world and know everything, that claim is not completely out without cause. I get it. I'm going to have to let me leave in a minute. So but in Canada, everybody was snarling at us. And I think part of it is because in the United States, everybody's got a gun. So you don't roll down the window and stick your head out and start yelling at the guy next to you. You don't do that in Miami on I-95, because that could be very dangerous. But because in Canada, we don't have that problem, or maybe we do have it now. We didn't have that problem. Oops, I just lost locals. Because that didn't happen in Canada, that doesn't happen in Canada, we feel like we're a lot more free to impose our wills and ideas on people. And some people find it a little obnoxious. Now, that wasn't the spirit of the Freedom Convoy, which was amazing. Because these people who would snarl and stuff, they're all city people. I mean, that's just the way it is. But people from rural communities in Canada, boy, they're super chill. I saw that when I went on that tour in Alberta. To what cities would you go to? We went to Lloydminster, Grand Prairie, Medicine Hat, Calgary, Edmonton, a bunch of places, Red Deer. People in those communities are awesome. And but anyways, so that was the difference. And does that come from the fact that they have lax gun laws? Well, I don't say lax gun laws. That's the wrong way to say it. Because Americans have the freedom to protect themselves? Is that why? Maybe that's why we're a little mouthy. And I also found that, traveling throughout the world, that the Americans are mouthy in some way, and the Canadians, we're equally mouthy in a different way. We're a little bit more smug. We're a little bit more like Trudeau. We think we know everything about the cultures that we go to when we really know very little. But anyways, that's just my personal experience. I could be wrong. There's good and bad with everybody, but I think if we all continue to come together and to support each other despite our differences and all that sort of stuff, I think we're going to make the world a better place. And the Freedom Convoy was a good place to start. I received the blurb today for the book, which you guys, I think, are going to feel is amazing. That was one of the things I was so excited about this morning. And so honkingforfreedom.locals.com, which just shut down. Sorry, everybody on Locals. Join there, and you'll be the first ones to get information about tickets for the live event, and then which will be in Toronto, and then join the Substack, BJdichter.substack.com. I got to go write a Substack one is in the truck in New York tonight. Join there. That will be the second tier of triage of people to get tickets to the live event in Toronto. And I'll let you know if anything transpires from doing an interview in media. But right now I'm leaning towards, probably not. I know enough people in alternative media that can do a better job and will be honest, so we don't need to give any more clicks to Punchy McGregor. Oh, and go watch that video on my YouTube channel, BJD Online. So it's youtube.com/BJD Online. The video is called How the Media Lies to You. That is, I guess, a dressing down of the fake news documentary from my mascot in Ottawa, Punchy McGregor. Greg McGregor? I don't. Anyways, I don't know. Don't care what his name is. Don't know what his name is. Amy Coley Barrett, hashtag, right on. K9, it's good to see you. You just came in. I got to run. I got to go to my truck and get to New York and get on the phone. I have a ton of meetings, and I love all of you. Please do your best to be as good to people as possible throughout the day. Okay? It'll make you feel better.